Okay, we're going to take a look at how to create a halftone image in Photoshop for screen printing. Now, the first thing to note is we are screen printing on screens with a 160 mesh count. And so what that means is we can't have as small of halftoning. So some of the settings that I'm going to go over are going to be very important in order for that to work properly. Okay. The first step is you need to have your design you're going to halftone. It could be something as simple as just a picture, or some kind of composite like this. But the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually come in, we're going to go to image, mode, and then grayscale. What this is going to do is it's going to convert our image into grayscale. You can choose flatten or don't flatten. It doesn't make a difference on this step. Um, I prefer to choose don't flatten, but then yes, you want to choose rasterize and then discard if that does pop up for you. And what this will do is it's going to then create your image. It's now all set to grayscale, but the reason I choose don't flatten is I still have all my layers. This is kind of my last chance to tweak anything before I rasterize it, or excuse me, bitmap it. And so I'm going to come in here and all my set, everything looks good, so I'm not going to worry about that. And now I'm going to go to image, mode, and bitmap. Now it's going to say, hey, flatten the layers. I don't have any other options. I have to click OK or I can't bitmap it, and I need to bitmap it. So I'm going to click OK. And this is where it gets important. The very first thing is our resolution. We're printing on a 160 mesh screen. So a super safe rule of thumb is to say 160 on the output. But we can get away with 200 and it can still work pretty well. So I like to use 200 because it gives a little bit more detail. So it needs to be 200 pixels per inch. And then our method needs to be set to halftone screen. It has to be on halftone screen. That has to be on 200 pixels per inch. We click OK. And now on the halftone screen settings, we have our frequency, which should be set at 25 lines per inch, and our angle, which should be set at 45 degrees. The shape should be set to round with screen printing. And then we go ahead and click OK. And now our screen has been half toned, and depending on how close we zoom in or out, it can look a little trippy on a computer screen. As we zoom out, though, we can see that that's looking better and better. And so it's going to have a similar effect with a standard viewer looking at this down the line. All right. So now what I'm going to do in order to prep it for screen printing in our class, I'm going to go to File, Export, Quick Export as PNG. And I'm going to go ahead and give that a file name. So we'll just call it Mac DeMarco sample 2 or 1. I said 2, but I wrote 1. Um, and now what we'll do is we'll come in here. And this is a file that's already set up as a 13 by 19 inch sized file. I have my registration marks already set here. And all I'm going to do is find that half-toned image that I just made, drag and drop it in here. I do not want to resize it. The reason we can't resize it is because this is set to the proper sizing of our halftones. If I shrink this down, it's going to end up making the halftoning smaller, and it's going to be too small of details to work on our screen printing. I could make it bigger, that's fine, but I cannot make it smaller. Okay. Once I set it in there, I'm going to grab all my registration marks, my design, and I'm going to hit this horizontal line center. And then if I want my registration marks to be a little closer, I can move them. If they're not showing up, it's because they're just behind that picture. So I like to just right click on the picture, go to arrange, send to back. Now they're in the back, or the picture's in the back. I can move my registration marks, double check, make sure it's aligned again. And now I can save this and turn this in, and it's ready to go for screen printing.